King Charles howled like a wounded animal when Diana died. The nurse watched him collapse. Christopher Andersen documented that moment. He interviewed people who were in the room at Balmoral. But Andersen isn't the only one talking. Robert Jobson released his book in January 2025. Rebecca English spoke to Charles' own friends in April 2025. 3 biographers, 3 separate investigations, all exposing the same 15 signs of guilt Charles has been hiding for 27 years. Sign 7 has never been covered on YouTube. When you see it, you'll understand why Charles can never escape her. And number 15 is the one all 3 biographers agree on. This single piece of evidence proves Charles will carry Diana until his final breath. Let's start with the private letter. Number 1. Unbearable emptiness. The private letter, December 1997. 4 months after Diana's death. Charles wrote a private letter to a friend, not a public statement crafted by Palace PR, not words designed for cameras or history, a personal confession he never expected anyone outside his inner circle to see. That letter was sold at auction for $2,000. The buyer made the contents public, and the words inside exposed everything Charles had desperately tried to hide from the world. He confessed to feeling unbearable emptiness. Consider that phrase for a moment. Calculate what it reveals about Charles's psychological state. This was a man who had Camilla, the woman he'd wanted all along. The affair that destroyed his marriage was no longer a secret the palace had to manage. Diana was gone forever. He was finally free to be with Camilla openly, publicly, without scandal or shame. No more hiding, no more sneaking, no more lies. Everything he'd wanted for over 2 decades was finally his, and 4 months later he wrote unbearable emptiness in a private letter. Not sadness, not grief, not loss, unbearable emptiness. A void so vast he couldn't bear it. A hollow space inside him that Camilla, the woman he had destroyed his marriage for, couldn't fill. A chasm that nothing could close, no matter how hard he tried. Why would a man who got everything he wanted feel empty? Why would winning feel like losing? Why would freedom feel like a prison sentence? Christopher Andersen has the answer, and it's devastating. Number 2. Howled like a wounded animal. Christopher Andersen, author of The Day Diana Died, documented what happened when Charles learned Diana was dead. He interviewed people present at Balmoral that terrible night. He gathered first-hand accounts from inside the castle. His exact words? Charles was shattered. He howled like a wounded animal, not cried quietly, not wept with dignity, howled like an animal caught in a trap, like something primal had broken loose inside him. Tina Brown, author of The Diana Chronicles, confirmed it independently. He was absolutely distraught. He fell apart completely. 2 respected biographers, 2 separate investigations, the exact same devastating conclusion. This wasn't the reaction of a man relieved his problem was gone. This was guilt hitting him like a freight train, the sudden realization of what he'd done, what he'd lost forever, what could never be undone. Andersen continued, he was devastated by Diana's death, perhaps to a degree that surprised even him. Even Charles himself was surprised by how devastated he felt. The guilt he'd been suppressing for years finally broke through. And wait until you see what happened in 2021. Number 3, nearly passed out viewing her body. Charles flew to Paris to bring Diana's body home. It was his duty as her former husband, as the father of her children, as the Prince of Wales. He had no choice but to go, to face what remained of the woman he'd married in front of 750 million viewers. He entered the room where she lay, saw her face, saw what remained of the princess the world had loved and he had betrayed. A nurse was standing in that room. She witnessed everything that happened next, a moment Charles never knew was being documented. Andersen's account, a nurse told me he reeled back and looked as if he had been struck by an unseen force. He nearly collapsed on the spot. His body betrayed what his carefully controlled words never would. Seeing Diana, lifeless, still, gone forever, beyond any apology or reconciliation, Charles physically couldn't bear it. His legs weakened beneath him. He staggered backward, like an invisible force had punched him in the chest. not the reaction of indifference or relief. This was a man confronting the ultimate consequences of every choice he'd made. Every betrayal, every lie, every night with Camilla while Diana suffered alone, every 3 people in this marriage. That was August 1997. That was 27 years ago. Does he still feel it? Has time healed what that night in Paris exposed? Or does the guilt remain as fresh and raw as ever? The Daily Mail answered that question definitively just months ago. Number 4, still deeply regrets. Present tense, April 2025. Rebecca English, royal editor at the Daily Mail, published what Charles' own friends confirmed, not anonymous sources, not palace insiders. His friends, people who know him personally. Her exact words: Charles still deeply regrets the pain and sadness caused. Notice the tense, not regretted. Regrets, present tense, active, ongoing. After 27 years, his own friends, people who dine with him, who speak to him regularly, say he still deeply regrets the pain he caused Diana. Not occasionally when reminded, not just on anniversaries, still, continuously, every single day. This is documented. April 2025. Rebecca English on the record, his friends confirming what biographers have suspected for decades. Number 5, let down the monarchy and Diana. Robert Jobson released The Windsor Legacy in January 2025. Brand new reporting, fresh sources, the most recent investigation into Charles's state of mind. Jobson's exact words from the book. He feels he let down not only the monarchy but also himself and Diana by not calling off the wedding. Read that again slowly. Charles regrets not calling off the wedding. He knew it was wrong from the beginning. He knew he didn't love Diana. He knew Camilla was the one he truly wanted. He knew he was about to trap a 19-year-old girl in a loveless marriage, and he married Diana anyway. Put her through 15 years of misery, 15 years of 3 people in this marriage, 15 years of watching the man she loved choose someone else every single day. Jobson didn't speculate. He reported what sources close to Charles confirmed. January 2025. Documented, on the record. Charles knew it was wrong from the very beginning, and he did it anyway. Number 6. Bullied by Philip into the marriage. Christopher Andersen exposed why Charles went through with it despite knowing it was wrong from the very beginning. Charles undoubtedly regrets that he ever allowed himself to be bullied by his father, Prince Philip, into marrying Diana. Prince Philip pushed Charles to propose. The palace needed a suitable bride, someone young, aristocratic, appropriate for the future king. Diana fit every requirement on their checklist. Charles was pressured relentlessly by his father, and instead of standing up for himself, or more importantly, for Diana, he complied like an obedient son. Andersen documented the devastating truth. Camilla was the love of Charles' life all along, and Diana knew it. Diana knew from the beginning. Charles knew from the beginning. The palace knew. Everyone knew except the public watching the fairy tale wedding, and Charles married her anyway, because his father told him to. Because duty came before honesty. Because appearances mattered more than Diana's happiness. That's not a mistake. That's not confusion. That's a deliberate choice. A choice that condemned Diana to 15 years of misery. A choice he's regretted every single day for 27 years. Number 7. Shadowboxing with Diana's ghost. Here's the sign that's never been properly discussed on YouTube. Here's why it matters. Diana died in 1997. Charles married Camilla in 2005. Became king in 2022. Got everything he wanted, and still can't escape her. Christopher Andersen's exact phrase: King Charles spent years shadowboxing with the ghost of Diana. Shadowboxing, fighting an opponent who isn't there, defending himself against accusations from beyond the grave, swinging at shadows that never go away, no matter how many crowns he wears. Andersen continued, even as king, he cannot escape her. Her memories are always there, lurking in the background. Always there. Not sometimes. Not occasionally, always. Diana is present in his mind constantly, even now as king, with Camilla beside him wearing the crown. Why would a man who won keep fighting a ghost? because he knows he didn't deserve to win. And no amount of crowns or titles or years can change that. Number 8, whatever in love means. The red flag. The guilt didn't start after Diana died. Body language expert Nicole Moore exposed that it was visible from the very beginning, captured on camera for the whole world to see. Charles and Diana's engagement interview. The moment the world was supposed to celebrate their love. A reporter asked a simple question. "Are you in love?" Diana said yes immediately, genuinely, hopefully, with her whole heart visible in her eyes. Charles said, "Whatever in love means." Nicole Moore's analysis of the footage. Charles shows no change in facial expression when describing the proposal. This is a huge red flag. He showed no sincerity, a disconnect from the very start of their public relationship. He couldn't even fake it for 30 seconds. The whole world watching, his future wife standing beside him, and he couldn't pretend to love her. That interview clip has been watched millions of times over the decades. Every single viewing reminds the world what Charles said, what Diana heard standing right next to him, what she would endure from that moment forward. Number 9. Diana's ring went to Kate, not Camilla. When William proposed to Kate in 2010, he gave her Diana's sapphire engagement ring, the most famous piece of jewelry in the royal collection, the ring that symbolized a marriage that should never have happened. A reporter asked why he chose that ring. William's exact words, "It's my way of making sure my mother didn't miss out on today." Diana's ring was never Camilla's to have. William made absolutely certain of that. He claimed it before anyone else could. He ensured his mother would be part of his engagement, his wedding, his marriage, his future, every moment that Camilla cannot touch, no matter how many titles she accumulates. Charles watched his own son make a statement about whose memory matters. Without ever saying Camilla's name, William made clear who belongs to Diana's legacy and who never will. Number 10, Diana's jewelry hierarchy. Watch where Diana's jewelry goes. Follow the jewels. They tell everything about guilt and legacy and who belongs to whom. Kate wears Diana's engagement ring, the famous sapphire. Kate wears the lover's knot tiara, Diana's signature piece that she wore to countless state dinners. Kate wears Diana's pearl chokers, Diana's earrings. Diana's most iconic and recognizable pieces adorn the future Queen of England. Camilla wears Queen Elizabeth's jewelry, the late Queen's brooches, the late Queen's tiaras, not Diana's. Diana's personal collection belongs to William and Kate, not Camilla, never Camilla. Diana's legacy lives on through Kate, not her replacement. This wasn't accident. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't the natural flow of royal inheritance. This was deliberate. This was intentional. William ensured his mother's pieces went to his wife. Charles couldn't or wouldn't stop it. The jewelry hierarchy makes clear who belongs to Diana's legacy and who will never be welcomed into it, no matter what title she holds. Number 11. Charles absent from Diana's statue. Remember the 2021 moment I mentioned? The one that puzzled even royal experts at the time. Now you'll understand why he really stayed away. July 1st, 2021. The unveiling of Diana's statue at Kensington Palace. A moment to honor her memory on what would have been her 60th birthday. William was there. Harry was there. Despite everything between them, the distance, the tension, the rifts, Diana's sons stood together to honor their mother. They put aside their differences for her. Charles was not there. The man married to Diana for 15 years didn't attend her memorial statue unveiling. The palace gave no explanation, no scheduling conflict announced, no illness claimed, just silence where the father of Diana's children should have stood beside his sons. Consider the optics Charles deliberately chose, a father who doesn't show up to honor his son's mother publicly, a man who can't stand beside a bronze Diana while the guilt gnaws at him. Now you understand. He couldn't face another public reminder, couldn't pretend for the cameras one more time, couldn't stand there while the world remembered what he did to her. The guilt wouldn't let him. His absence spoke volumes. His absence said everything words never could. Number 12. 8 years to convince the Queen. Christopher Andersen documented the battle Charles fought to marry Camilla after Diana's death. It took Charles 8 years to convince Queen Elizabeth to let him marry Camilla, and then only after promising Camilla would never be known as queen. 8 years. Calculate what that means, from Diana's death in 1997 to the wedding in 2005. Even his own mother, the queen who valued duty and the monarchy above everything else, refused to accept Camilla for nearly a decade. Elizabeth knew exactly what Camilla represented, what she'd done to Diana, what Diana had suffered because of her. Charles had to beg his own mother for permission for 8 years, and even then, Elizabeth only agreed with strict conditions, promises, non-negotiables that Charles swore to uphold, promises he would later break the moment his mother was gone. Number 13, Camilla will never be queen. Then he broke it. 2005, Charles publicly promised Camilla would never be called queen. She would be princess consort forever. That was the deal. That was the promise that earned Queen Elizabeth's permission. That was the condition for the wedding to happen at all. May 2023, Charles crowned her Queen Camilla. He broke his promise. On international television, watched by billions around the world, he gave Camilla the title Diana died before receiving. I remember watching that coronation, watching Camilla receive the title that should have been Diana's. The symbolism was devastating for anyone who remembered. Christopher Andersen. He gave Diana's rival the title that should have been hers. The symbolism was not lost on anyone watching. The promise he made to his dying mother, the condition for her blessing, broken within 8 months of Elizabeth's death. 8 months. That's not just broken promises, that's erasure. Charles erasing his mother's wishes the moment she couldn't stop him. Number 14. Diana's sons honor her more than Charles. Diana's memory lives on powerfully, but not because of anything Charles has done. The contrast between how her sons honor her versus what Charles does is absolutely devastating. William tells his children about Granny Diana every single night. He said so publicly in interviews. He ensures George, Charlotte, and Louis know the grandmother they never met. He tells them stories, shows them photos, keeps her alive in their hearts every single day. Charlotte's middle name, Diana, given deliberately, meaningfully, with intention. Harry's daughter, Lilibet Diana. The name carries forward to the next generation. The Diana statue at Kensington Palace, commissioned, funded, and unveiled by William and Harry working together despite their differences, not Charles. Her sons made it happen while their father deliberately stayed away from the ceremony. Sit with that for a moment. The man who wronged Diana, who betrayed her, who made her miserable for 15 years, who was with Camilla from the honeymoon onward, has done less to honor her memory than the sons who were only 15 and 12 when she died. Boys who lost their mother tragically have done more to preserve her legacy than the King of England. That's not just guilt, that's proof. Number 15. Cancer put him in a reflective mood. Sign 15, the one all 3 biographers agree on, the one that proves Charles will never escape Diana. Not for the rest of his life. Not until his final breath. Here's why. King Charles was diagnosed with cancer in February 2024. The palace announced it publicly. Suddenly, mortality wasn't abstract. It was real, immediate, staring him in the face every single day. And when you face your own death, you don't think about victories. You think about regrets, the things you wish you'd done differently, the people you hurt. Christopher Andersen documented what happened. His cancer diagnosis has put him in a reflective mood. Reflective, looking back, examining choices, confronting the things he wishes he could change. Andersen continued, I'm sure his memories of Diana, both positive and negative, are always there, lurking in the background. She was a larger-than-life figure who grew even larger in death. Always there, lurking, not sometimes, always. Facing his own mortality, Charles thinks about Diana, the woman he married knowing he loved someone else, the woman he betrayed from the honeymoon onward, the woman who died in a Paris tunnel while he was safe with Camilla. Not his accomplishments, not his environmental work, Diana, the ghost he's been shadowboxing for 27 years. This is why biographers say he'll never escape her. Cancer, mortality, and still, Diana is there, still haunting him. Robert Jobson confirms in his January 2025 book, Charles regrets not calling off the wedding. Rebecca English confirms in her April 2025 report, Charles still deeply regrets the pain. Christopher Andersen confirms across multiple books. Diana's memory is always there, impossible to escape. 3 respected experts, all confirming the same inescapable truth. Charles is guilty. He knows he's guilty, and he will carry Diana with him until his final breath. Diana, from beyond the grave, has already won, completely, forever. 15 signs, 3 experts, but they only had interviews and sources. Patrick Jobson had something better, 8 years of documents, daily records Charles tried to destroy, evidence of what he actually did to Diana behind closed doors. The biographers expose the guilt. Jobson exposes the proof. Next, Diana's secretary, Patrick Jobson, exposes Charles, the documents he wanted destroyed. I'll see you there.